I vote yes.
That's it.
I vote
Oh,
yes.
I think it's 10 o'clock. Is it 10 o'clock?
It is 10:02.
Hi,
Ladies and
Susan, how are
gentlemen,
you?
Thank you for being
I've
a quorum.
seen you.
Nothing I like better
Yeah,
than a
yeah.
large group.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for showing up. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. Celebrate all the holidays you can, never miss one. I guess the first order of business is approval of the last general membership meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to glance out?
I approve.
You want to nominate, you want to make a motion that we accept?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, the noise is deafening. All opposed? Approved.
You might want to just, for the record, remind everybody that this is a quorum.
Oh, I did. Yeah, this is our quorum. because
Well, based on the vote.
Yeah, last meeting there wasn't a quorum, and that means this meeting is automatically under Maryland law a quorum, so you are.
Really feel special.
Yeah.
You can write to the governor.
I just feel there's power.
That's
Exactly. You braved the cold.
And may the power be with you.
That's the time of year.
Actually, you know, it's been a fairly busy year, and a lot of things were accomplished. I guess the biggest one was the beach. I hope you've all had a chance to walk down and look at it, and, you know, the jetty is one, or whatever we're calling it. It looks nice and everything, and it has collected sand. Our neighbor suddenly has a beach, which he had, I don't know how long it's been since he's had one. And I believe our measurements show that we're accreting sand also, right, Mike?
Yeah, we're,
Come to those.
it's been stable, except for, period of time. I'll mention.
Okay, good, okay, that's pretty stable. And other than that, well, we had a little bit of vandalism, which I don't know if people read all of the newsletters.
Yeah.
We had like 4 teenagers come down and throw their picnic table into the water. You know, I guess some people don't relate to the idea of community property
Right.
means it's theirs also. But anyway, we had that all on film, but you know, I hope it doesn't happen again.
Wasn't someone able to get it out luckily?
Oh, yeah. Who got, yeah.
Was you? Oh, golly.
Yeah, he happened to walk by.
260 something's pulled it out.
He's a lot stronger than you think. If your house starts to sink or something, you don't care. And so, you know, that was really sort of a disappointing thing. And quite honestly, other than that, everything has been going very nicely. It's been a smooth year. I'm always happy when the paving gets done and it's done well. We've had some stormwater projects and we have some more coming up. But it's been a good year, and that's where we are. Any questions? Come on, it's 4 of you. Somebody. All right, well, let's see. Committee reports. Rather than committee reports, why don't we just go right down the table? Susan, you have something coming
No.
on?
I know.
Asha,
Yeah.
Bonnie.
The last time I looked, which was fairly recently, the Phragmites that we had treated was dying, so that's what we want. So that's, and in the past, I think Mark Smith, our invasive species guy, wanted to just leave the dying canes up. One year we actually had them taken down at the landline, at the earth line, because they were very unsightly along the Bay Drive Causeway. But other than that, we just let them die on their own and flop over and decompose. I don't think Jenny did anything about her Ivy League thing. She had, I think, in one meeting. Do you know about the Ivy League?
I was at the last one.
Okay, so
We did one, and she's got one, I think, in January.
She does. She hasn't really confirmed it with me for the date, so I sent out the email. She had to cancel the one in December, but, so, look for an email.
and that's all I've got.
Mike.
Okay, going back to the beach grass is not dying, which is a good thing. So it's holding its own. People continue to attempt to cut the fence that we have to put around it to satisfy Maryland, but I don't know why.
why we have the fence or why people are
Why,
cutting?
why they think they have to cut
Oh,
it.
I was gonna say, the notes it says.
Same people through the.
We're required to have it for the geese,
Right.
keep the geese out of there,
Keep
but
the geese out, which now I don't think there's any danger.
Oh,
The grass is firmly settled in and it's growing, and so I think we're okay.
so we have to have it for what, 5 years
It's
total?
supposed to be 5 years, but we'll keep it up as much as we can. Kurt Larson, right there, suggested that one of the things we might want to do is to try to measure the extent of the sand, whether it's accreting or depleting or whatever. So what we're doing is basically, on the solstice months, trying to get close to a high tide and measuring from the power pole out there down to the water's edge. And I use a debris line for the current tidal cycle and do a measurement like that. So we're kind of benchmarking it there. So far, it's basically, we've done 3 measurements. It's essentially following the tide cycle. So the 2 that were at normal tides, 29 and 33 feet, and they corresponded to the height of the tide. Then we did have one that was anomalous. It was in September, we had a really high flood advisory. In fact, the water was 3.3 feet over mean low water, which, according to the storm advisories and stuff, is considered a moderate flood. That one we were about almost half, 16, a little over 16 feet. But it's still following the tidal cycle, so I think so far I'm not seeing any real trend in it. It looks good, it's holding.
I have a question though related to that,
Yeah.
the beach. So we live on Drum Point Lake,
Yeah.
and I don't know if anybody's kind of paying attention to that. And it is a tidal lake, although it has now, since the jetty has been built, the water has not connected to the bay at all. Like the canal or whatever you want to call it that connects the lake to the bay, the water has not flown through at all since then. So I don't know if anybody's kind of tracking that,
No, I haven't really looked at it, but.
because it certainly would affect the life of the lake.
Right.
You mean on down on the club property where the,
On the club property.
Yeah.
On the club, yeah, yeah, so there's like our lake connect,
Yeah.
I
I know what you
we'll
mean.
paddleboard, we'll canoe out and whatever.
Right.
And now the sand is building up further and further and further, and usually, a couple times a week or a month, it'll flow, but since that jetty has been built, I don't go down there every day, but, you know, I've not observed it, the water flowing through.
It has, it's been a while since because I go there almost every day.
Yeah,
You know,
It's been
It
closed.
has not opened up in a while. I mean, I certainly wouldn't know if it was related to the jetty,
but I think it's important because it will now affect our lake. We have crabs in the lake and whatever else comes in, so it is, I think, the only tidal lake in the area.
but I would have thought that.
Well, Charming.
Does it? Oh, yeah.
I would have thought that if it were the jetty causing that, the issue would be that they would be losing sand up that direction.
Yeah, and I have,
And I don't know if it's a direct cause, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
just an
Yeah.
observation that
Right.
since then, so.
Do you know if the club's monitoring that?
May I make
No,
a
I
comment?
Kurt would probably.
One of the things that's happening is if you watch it, there's more and more erosion of the club property, and that sand is moving down towards the point. So the sand that's being removed there is moving down towards the point, and it's quite possible that as the sand moves along, that it's building up, at the point at where the outlet to the creek is or to the lake. I mean, when you go down there, you look at just aerial photographs, you notice that there's kind of like an offshore delta that's been built out, from the mouth of the creek there. And there's always been a lot of sedimentation. So if there's if there's erosion from when we put this jetty in, and any erosion of the club property, all it ends up, as it moves down along the beach, it's just quite possible, or probable, that the sand that there's more sand being deposited there as the erosion of the club beach takes place.
Is the club, does anybody know, is the club monitoring this actively?
Well, we do have a committee that walks
around and notices what's going on in the separate parts of the property. In the past, that jetty, I mean, not that jetty, that waterway has closed up, but it would reopen.
It definitely closes up a lot, but
Yeah, but
it's
it's
just,
been
it
closed
has
more.
not reopened.
Right, no, it's a good
At all.
observation, I don't know if, they've thought about that or not, but, yeah, I could
I mean, basically, you really need to have, an increased water level in the lake to really break through a lot of ways, but I mean, that's one of the key issues.
And we.
Because I went down the day there was a coastal flood advisory, and I'm like, high water, this is gonna be the day, and it still didn't open up.
But we're still probably at a deficit because we've had a lot of drought this year.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it could be the lack of rain too. And if we
Yeah,
get
it
more
could be,
rain, it
but-
might all balance out.
Well, we'll look at it.
Is that the pipe that leads from the lake along the waterfront?
No.
There's a pipe that runs underneath one of the roadways
Yeah,
here
that's
from the
that's
lake.
Lake Charming.
That's Lake
I don't know
Charming.
what the name of the lake is. I just know that there's a lake
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lake Charming.
and it's got a pipe that goes underneath the roadway to the bay. or
That's
the
Lake
river.
Yeah, that's Lake
That's
Charming.
Charming.
That normally blocks up.
Yeah, this is a.
Larry Rich has the pump
Yep.
and has
That's
been
on
blowing it
Lake
out in the past.
He's done it in the past. Lately, we've got a contractor that cleans
No,
it.
but I mean, it's normal, what's happening before is it was washing the sand in from the river or lake, the bay and blocking it
But
up.
that's a different area than what we're.
That's a different
Yeah,
lake?
that's-
Okay.
yeah, That's the Bay Drive Causeway,
Okay,
and you're talking about
Drum Point
Drum Point Lake
Yeah.
itself.
okay.
That's
I-
Lake Charming uses. Yeah.
It seems to me like, the club should, Tasha, why don't you get the word to the club and
I mean,
have.
I
To
can,
monitor.
but the thing is too, if it's caused by the jetty, I don't know how much the
Well,
club can
well,
do
but
about
if
it.
they monitor what's going
They're
on
under
with the
dredger.
sand, if it's building up, well then, we'll have to see what we do about the solution, once we
Maybe they
identify the problem.
Could dredge it or something.
Yeah, I would think they probably wouldn't since they didn't cause it, but,
Oh.
We don't know what caused it.
yeah, no, we're not 100% sure what, but it's something to look at and see more.
Is it a long-term problem, is it a recurring problem, is the jetty and lack of rain, and, does anybody have any real?
Just one hurricane away from Hoover to nothing.
One storm,
There was one,
opening,
and it
right?
just silted it.
I know the jetties cause more erosion on the property line between the club
Right.
and the community beach, because a lot more trees are falling in, you can see more of the fences falling in at a more rapid rate.
Yeah. All right, are you done?
Yep.
Alan?
I just wanted to support what Tony was saying about the vandalism on the beach. We do have a couple cameras. One of the things that I've noticed, because I do kind of look at the footage, is they're coming in, the people that are doing, perpetrating, doing activities, are coming in via car. So we're going to try to get some license plates and things of that nature. Our contract would be up in March with the cameras we have now, so I expect the price will go down. We'll probably look at expanding that. Because the one other thing we've seen is twice people just having fires and they're leaving trash. But they seem to come in via car, not via some Drum Point or via foot. So we're going to look at expanding that. That's it.
Is it a certain time of day?
Usually
Not-
after dark.
It
Well,
would.
yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was at
would
7
say,
last night, 7 at night.
the picnic table is around 9:30.
I thought it was 7:74, 7:54. It was
You know what,
before-
you're right,
yeah,
It was
'cause
7:42 to
yeah, it was before
7:54,
8
thank you,
o'clock.
Asha.
Yeah, I remember.
The fire was a little bit later, the two fires were a little bit later, but it was also during the summer, so the sun wasn't going down until 8:30 or 9, so.
But it must have been after Labor Day because the gate would have been closed.
The gate is left open 24/7 after
Right.
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
That's what
Right.
I'm saying.
Yes.
It was-
Okay.
And that was a long time ago when that happened.
I,
Yeah,
only
are you
thing-
gonna cover finance too, because Jack's
Oh,
not here briefly?
everything is within the budget, you know, parameters of the budget, and he'll be forming the budget committee for next year's fiscal year 26 budget. So he'll start looking at that in January or so. I usually send him my spreadsheet with my suggestions, and then he goes from there. Beyond that, our membership is up to date. So for the current fiscal year, we're at 80% paid as far as membership in good standing. And that's what we usually expect. And we always hit that pretty early these days. It used to go right up to June, you know, the end of the fiscal year, and we finally got to that 80%. But we're there now. Thanks maybe a little bit because I file claims on people. And that's been pretty successful. Brought in like maybe $11,000 over and above what we might have otherwise. I'll be sending statements out end of January, first part of February. So even though you guys are all members in good standing through June, you'll get your bill due March 1st for the upcoming fiscal year. That's it.
Thank you. I am not aware of any unfinished business. Anyone? All right, good.
Did Kurt talk about the nominating committee, his nominating
Oh,
committee?
that's coming
Was
up.
that an unfinished
That's under
business?
new business.
Okay.
The very next point.
Anything on roads or office or?
Well, as Tony said, you know, the paving obviously is finished. We've done some stormwater management projects. There are 5, I think, additional ones approved, various areas, Laurel Way, Cardinal, and so on. And Steve Rowe, our project manager, is working. We got a lower price, which he'll let us know in January, from Grover's Landscape for 2 other areas that came in kind of high. And he also asked for a price from John Wood on those same 2 projects. That's basically it.
All right, well then, any questions or any comments on unfinished business? No? New business, it's winter time, nobody wants to go out. But something that can be done at home, to give a warm, satisfying feeling, is being a member of the nominating committee. Now, Kurt has taken over the wonderful task of running the nominating committee.
So we're generally required to have 3 people on the committee, and generally what I normally do is round up the usual suspects, like myself, to be on the committee. And actually, this is a really good function in a lot of ways because we try to find people who are really interested in potentially taking, you know, being an active member on the board. I mean, this time we have basically 3 people on the board whose terms are expiring, Bonnie's and Ash's and Susan's. And both Bonnie and Susan have had their arms twisted, you know, to say, and Asha very gently shook my hand and said, I think I need a break. So we will have at least one clear opening, you know, that we need to fill on the board for the next 3-year term. So what I need to do is that I need to try to find people who are really interested in and want to serve on this board. And I want to collect some names for a couple different reasons. We'd like to find somebody who would potentially fill Ash's position on the board. But we also want to try to build up a list of people who would potentially be available if openings occur unexpectedly on the board. So the board has basically has a name, somebody who's interested, who would be interested in serving. So I'm trying to find, or I'll be trying to get names of people who are really potentially interested to be on the board, as well as someone to hopefully take Ash's place on the board as well. So this is all coming up, and I need to solicit names and for interest. And I think what we'll do is we'll just run things, through our website that Rita maintains, and we'll try to give all of my information so people who are interested in it can contact me, and we'll have put together a list. And that's kind of what we need to do, and it's pretty quick and easy to do.
So if any of you want to help Kurt by being on the committee, or if you want to get even with a nasty neighbor, just nominate them.
Or nominate yourself.
Yeah, or nominate yourself. You know, it won't bother anybody. Anyway, no, but it is community service that has to be done, and it's not that bad. You meet once a month, you do this 4 times a year, it's not that bad.
Everybody's pretty nice. We don't have big arguments or anything.
Oh, yeah, that,
Which happened in the past.
It's a
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
a nice highlight is, believe it or not, everybody on the board actually gets along. There are no arguments, no fights. There are disagreements, but there are no arguments, no fights. And everybody on the board has sort of said, hey, the first time a fight breaks out, I'm out of here. So, you know, everything is civilized.
Fortunately, those days are behind.
Yeah, oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Those days are gone. Anybody that remembers them, that's all ancient history.
Isn't that ancient long enough?
Well, it's the past.
Ray remembers.
Any public comment on anything? Come on, guys. You're representing the community.
Well, that's a good thing, that means we're happy.
Well, I'll just say something for the Southern Capital Land Trust, since I double as that. And oftentimes, we have properties that come up that people want to donate to the land trust, largely because they're unbuildable and they want, get out from under the county taxes, et cetera. And right now, we're working on taking in one property that I'm working on. But I keep getting, solicitations from people who want to donate lots, and their lawyers, or there are all kinds of estate settlements going on. But there are all kinds of properties out there, one recently, which is very nice, but it's been in tax sale for like the past 10 years, and nobody wants it, and nobody can get rid of it. And basically, the lot just sits there because no one will buy it at a tax sale. And it just sits there accruing whatever, more taxes, and it's, I'm assuming more fees here with the association as well.
I'll say one thing, a problem with the county, I think, a failure, when somebody allows their property to go into tax sale, that owner is under the impression that they're done with it.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they actually, not only does there have to be an offer, but then they have to come up with the money, and it has to follow all the way through.
Yeah.
And I spoke with a man years ago, lives in Pennsylvania, he and his brother owned 4 properties. And he said, oh, that went to tax sale in the 90s. I'm like, wow, let me tell you what.
Taxes.
It's all on their, and there's nothing they're going to do about it. And he owes probably $10,000 or more now in property taxes, plus what he owes
It's
us.
incredible, the properties that just sit there for tax.
Well, and the county never informs these people that they still own it. So.
Well, it's something like, okay, our land trust has something like 160, 170 properties between here and White Sands and elsewhere in the county. And I got a letter saying, all of these properties of yours are up for tax sale. I kept saying, tax sale? We don't owe any taxes. We don't owe any county or state taxes on my properties. And I have to go through and I have to, go through to try to talk to people in the treasurer's office to say, look, this doesn't work. And the other thing is it's interesting too, because there are land speculators who are always interested in buying up all these various properties. And we get solicitations saying, would you like to sell some of your properties? And basically we have a conservation easement on the property that says it can't be sold or developed. Right? So I mean, it's just kind of interesting that they still show up on the county tax rolls and state tax rolls as viable pieces of property, where our conservation easement basically forbids them being sold or developed. So it's this sort of kind of interesting.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Any other public comments? How about comments from the board? No, nothing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we consider ourselves free.